And my name's Nicole Bostel. I'm the Director of Communications here at STEM School Highlands Ranch. I want to thank you guys so much for tuning in today. And if you've been joining me every single day this week, I really appreciate it. I hope the information has been helpful in getting you onboarded here at STEM, and that everyone has a successful start to the new school year. I just want to start by saying not to worry. It is a lot of information, but we're all here to help. And so we don't want any of our parents or students to stress out and think that they need to know everything right away. That is not the case. So just don't hesitate to ask any questions, because we are all here to help. So I'm going to admit a few more people, and let me go ahead and start sharing my screen. That way you can see the presentation. Okay. And if somebody could just unmute yourself and then let me know if you can see my screen, just so that I know that it is working correctly.
It's working.
Thank you so much. Okay, so today's topic is the STEM experience, and we are going to cover enrichment, and then we're also going to cover athletics. Unfortunately, Ms. Fitzroy and Ms. Jones, they both have to be in a mandatory benefits meeting, so they weren't able to join me today. So I'm going to do my best to answer all questions about enrichment and athletics throughout this presentation. So for those who don't know, we have an enrichment program here at STEM, and that really encompasses all of our clubs and activities that take place after school. It is a place where students can find after school, and we also offer summer enrichment opportunities. And these are supposed to be interest clubs, or they could be middle school athletic teams that want to get together. It could also be a high school team that is not supported by CHASA. So all of those kind of fall under our enrichment umbrella. And any student can start a club if it is something that we don't already offer. They need to find an advisor, they write a proposal, and then they submit that to an enrichment director. But through enrichment at STEM, students can participate in a variety of really cool clubs and programs. They really range from all over, as you can see there: arts, athletics, robotics, technology, and really anything that they have an interest in. If they can find an advisor, they can start a club here at STEM. So enrichment opportunities, they're updated each week on our website. That is kind of the direct link that takes you there. In the top menu bar, you would click on the STEM experience and then click on enrichment. We also have in the newsletter a specific section about enrichment, where you can see everything that is being offered for that week, or news, or if it's some sort of update that all of the families need to know who have students in enrichment. You can register for clubs on that page. We are in the process, because Ms. Fitzroy her contract just started this week. And so she is in the process of getting us all the updated registration links. So those will all be replaced here within the next few days, and parents can already start to sign up for those. So I would look at what's being included in the newsletter today that goes out, because those are the most up-to-date registration links. Okay, if you need to reach her directly, that's her contact information. That would also be who your student can connect with if they have questions about clubs. So clubs run all the way from K through 12. They look slightly differently on the elementary side of things as they do on the secondary side, but we'll cover that also. So event registrations, they're included in the newsletter. They're also included on the webpage. Variety of interest levels for all grade levels. For elementary, we typically break them up into 4 sessions throughout the year. So you'll notice, and that's because we bring in outside organizations to run some of these offerings. So for instance, fencing and ballet, those are all run through an outside organization where they come in and they do those in sessions. Same thing with First Lego League. Those are all done in not necessarily for a semester, but they're called sessions. Middle school and high school programming tend to be seasonal or year round. You'll want to pay attention to the dates when your student signs up for that, because they're not necessarily, depending on what the club is, It won't necessarily meet every single day. It might meet twice a week, or it might only meet once a week. So definitely keep an eye on that as you're signing up. Okay. As I mentioned before, if your kiddo doesn't see anything that they're interested in, definitely reach out to our enrichment coordinator, Ms. Fitzroy. That way she can walk them through how to get it started. We really want students to be in the driver's seat here because it is their interest. And so she helps walk them through how to get a club started and really helps them think about all of the different things that go into running a club. And it's a really good responsibility. So also part of enrichment, we run our before and after school care for secondary students only, and that's grades 6 through 12. So DCSD offers the base program for kids in grades K through 5. And so they run their program through our elementary school cafeteria. So for secondary students, grades 6 through 12, we offer a before care, and that's only for siblings of elementary school students. So just keep an eye on that. The doors for that open at 7:10, and that's so that when that sibling comes to get dropped off with their elementary school sibling, they can go into the middle school cafeteria and wait there until 7:30 for when they're allowed to then proceed into the building to go to their classes. Okay, there's no charge for that, but that is designed for secondary students who have an elementary school sibling. It's not really designed for based off of capacity. So it's not really designed for students who don't have an elementary school sibling. So I hope that makes sense. We do look at the numbers. We do kind of design that program based off of the numbers that we could anticipate based off of those sibling numbers. So unfortunately, it's not set up to take in only secondary students. So if a secondary student is being dropped off before if parents are trying to drop off before 7:30, they're going to have to wait until 7:30 for our aides to come out, and then they can go ahead and get out of the car and then head into the building. Okay. After school care for secondary students, that starts at 3 o'clock, that runs until 6. It's $10 per afternoon. Okay, you can sign up for that. It's called Smart Care. And if you have any questions about that, you can email that enrichment email. We do have to hire somebody to run that program, and that's the reason why there is a fee for that, because the $10 per student in the afternoon covers the wage for the person who is there watching the students. Okay. One thing to just make note, if it is after 6 o'clock, there is a charge for that. So please make sure that you're coming to pick up your kiddo before 6 o'clock. Okay. So the Smart Care Child Program platform, that's how you would get signed up for paying for the after school care. And there's a link there. It's also on our website. And if you need help, then you would just email that enrichment. The direct line during that 3 to 6 timeframe, if you have your kiddo in that after school care program, when you pull up, you would call that particular phone number, and then the after school care supervisor that's in the cafeteria with your student would then release your student to go out to your car. So now we're going to talk about athletics. This is Miss Susan Jones. She was a PE teacher for secondary school last year, and now she has taken on the role of athletic director, and we're super excited about that. For Spartan athletics that fall under the umbrella of CHASA, those are for grades 9 through 12, and she manages that program. So the athletic teams at STEM, they're all coached by staff at STEM. If it is a parent that is also volunteering, we also always try and have a staff member that is partnered with that parent to coach that team. Okay. So if you need, and I have a list of all of the athletic offerings on another slide. If you need to register your kiddo for any of our fall sports, I would do that as soon as possible. Registration is live. It's also available on the high school athletics page, which is located under that STEM experience tab. You do have to have a physical on file with the athletic director before your kiddo can start practice or participate in any type of game. So please be sure to take a look at that the physical form that's on the page and print that out, take that to the doctor. That way they can fill it out, because it is the form that CHASA provides that every physical, that every doctor needs to complete. These are what our current offerings are. So in the fall, we have boys soccer, cross country, girls volleyball, boys golf, and esports. So currently boys golf is already underway, and cross country is already starting to meet and do some workouts. So if you have an interest in any one of those, I would really hustle and get on that. The email address, if you have any questions, is athletics@stemk12.org. Those go to Miss Jones and she can respond back to you. We do also have a part-time athletics assistant, and that's Mr. John Monroe. He's also assisting Miss Jones in helping to schedule the practices around depending on what facility we need. He helps to schedule those and then schedule out the games, and then helps to order the uniforms and everything that entails with athletics. He helps with that. So if your kiddo is interested in boys soccer, girls volleyball, or esports, there's still a little bit more time to get registered for that, but not a lot, because they're going to start practicing here very quickly. So in the winter, we offer boys basketball, and we are collecting interest around girls basketball. We do have the opportunity to also offer other sports, but we do have to have interest, and we have to have a coach in order to be able to host that team. So everything starts with an interest form. So if you have a student that is interested in starting, let's say, for instance, a tennis team or a girls golf team, which we've had interest in the past, they can reach out to Miss Jones, and then we would put together an interest form and circulate that between the 9th and 12th graders in those grades for the students and parents to complete, to express interest. And if we have enough, then we will go out and find a coach for it, and then we will host that team for the season. And then depending on if that program grows, then we'll continuously offer it from year to year. So in the spring, we offer boys lacrosse. Currently, that is a co-team with Highlands Ranch High School boys lacrosse. So all registration for that is done through Highlands Ranch High School. If that ever changes, we would notify any students. But if you have an interest in that, you would also email Ms. Jones, and that's athletics@stemk12.org. That way she can provide any information that needs to go out prior to registration going live. We also have girls soccer, co-ed track and field, and boys volleyball in the spring. And I would also like to put out there that if there are any parents who are interested in coaching, that they could also reach out to Ms. Jones at athletics@stemk12.org. That way she can put you on our interest list to reach out to. And then what we do is we try and find a staff member that would be the co-coach with that parent. All right, now with that, I'm going to go ahead. I'm at the end of my presentation. So I told you it was going to be quick. And now we want to open up the floor for any questions. It doesn't have to be about athletics or enrichment. It can be about anything, but I want to open up the floor. No questions?
I can ask a question.
Yes.
When that newsletter comes out today with the different clubs, is it going to show the time that they meet?
Yes, it should. It should show the day of the week and then the time frame.
Okay.
So there were some offerings that were in last week's newsletter. They were under because there were only a few of them. If they're elementary enrichment groups, they're in the elementary news and updates section of the newsletter. And then if they were secondary, they went into the secondary news and updates section. So this week they'll have their own section, and then you'll start to see that populate on the enrichment page.
So the stuff that came out previously isn't yet on the enrichment page?
No, not yet. That came in very quickly, and then we just hadn't had a chance to put it up on the website yet, but it should be updated by the end of today.
Okay, and then there's the daily bell schedule.
Yes.
In the afternoon is a little bit confusing, that last period.
Are you talking about that
Yeah.
10th period?
I'm sorry, the what?
The 10th period that's on the schedule?
Yeah. And then
Yeah,
it says
so that's
3 to 3:40 and 3 to 4:45, and it says intervention.
yes. So part of that, so the school day does end at 2:55. And so we have that last period that's built in, and that indicates that teachers on the secondary side, their contract goes until 3:45. So they have to be available for office hours on certain days for students to attend, or they have to be in the building for specific meetings. So let's say, for instance, a parent has to schedule a meeting with them and it needs to be after school, that it is within that time block. And so we have to include that time frame on our bell schedule, so that not only teachers but students know that they can reach their teacher all the way up until 3:45. Now I would,
So,
if you're now that's for secondary. Elementary teacher contracts go until 3:30. So there is a slight time shift on the elementary side.
so 4:45 or 3:45?
It should be 3:45.
Okay, because it says, well, and I'm looking at last year's, I don't see this year's, but it says 3 to 4:45, and then it
Okay,
says
that
3
might
to
be a
3:40.
typo, and I can, so this year's is going to be if you look under calendars on the website in the menu bar, it should be right. There's the first set is like the academic calendar, and then the all school calendar, and then right below that we have the elementary bell schedule, secondary bell schedule, and then it's got kind of like that blue, gold, silver schedule that you can look at also, or calendar would be.
Yeah, so it says 3 to 4:45, and then it says intervention, and then 3 to 3:40.
Yeah, so I got to take a look at that. That might be a typo that just like we
Okay.
fixed it and then somebody pulls an old version, but
Oh,
it's
okay,
3:45.
so, but the difference between those two rows is really that one is elementary and one is secondary. Is that the idea?
Let me see if I can pull it up. That way I'm looking at the same
Okay.
thing you're talking about.
Okay, great, thank you.
No problem. So are you looking specifically at the secondary bell schedule?
I did, yes.
Okay, let me pull that up. So I'm looking at that now. So all of this just pertains to secondary. And
Okay.
that is actually, so the 3:40 is the cutoff time for when teachers, they get like a grace period of 5 minutes, right? So they don't want somebody showing up at 3:45 for a student to show up at 3:45 to be like, I need help with this. And then the teacher's here for another 15, 20 minutes outside of their contracted time. Now the 4:45, that is actually accurate. So that actually, sorry, now that I look at it, that pertains to if there's any type of additional support that a student needs that's already prearranged, or if there is something like what is it called, detention, that where a student needs to stay behind in order to complete, whatever the task is that's part of their detention. So, but the clubs typically run all the way up to either 3:40 to 3:45 unless it's otherwise marked.
So the intervention, I don't understand, does that relate to one of those two time slots?
The intervention is the top one.
Okay.
So intervention would go all the way up until 4:45 if needed. And then the 3:40 is just kind of the end of the school day for teachers in secondary.
Okay. Thank you.
Hi, this is Salamadi. I want to know, like we couldn't come on Thursday to get the plug card. So is it possible, like on Monday, can we get it?
Yes, so Monday, you can pick up your placard anywhere between 8 and 3 o'clock. That's when the front office is going to be open.
Okay, yeah, thank you.
You're welcome.
I don't suppose you know how many kids, secondary kids participate in the aftercare program.
You know, it
I know as they get older, they probably don't participate as much, but
it fluctuates. Now, here's what happens. So sometimes a parent might be running late, or they might say, listen, I can't get there until like 4:15. We have to be very, I don't like using the word strict, but we really have to follow some pretty serious guidelines when it comes to where students are after school on campus. And students should not be hanging out after the kind of that 3:45 timeframe by themselves. So we have, now that we kind of have more of a regular rotation with a campus security guard, the students that are on campus that are not in an activity after 3:45 will start to be put into that after school care program. Okay. And then, so you'll probably see a little bit more of an uptake than in previous school years, because we haven't always had the consistency of somebody going around and collecting students and telling them where to go. But for safety reasons, kids cannot be just hanging around on campus after 3:45 without supervision. Now, parents can say you can walk off campus, right? Go to Target and go wherever, but it's the matter of them being on our campus that we don't have, 5 people that can supervise kids just waiting for parents in order to pick up. We have one person that we pay for, or that gets paid in the after school care program. So all students need to go in there if their club is done and their parents haven't come pick them up yet. And it also, so to go back to your question, it would vary from day to day because it depends on when clubs are happening. So certain days we have 12 to 15 clubs going on. So kids are in their clubs and then their parents come pick them up right away. Other days the club might not be happening and the parent has said, listen, I can't come get you. And so you're going to be in after school care. So certain days there might be more kids in there. They oftentimes, there's games in there. They play on their computer. They also get homework done. So I haven't really heard of any complaints of after school care. Maybe just that the kids might not find it cool, but what other questions?
I have a quick, well, I hope it's quick, Driveline question, if that's okay.
Of course.
We picked up our placards yesterday. We have one elementary school and one secondary school.
Yes.
And we got a placard for each of them. They're different colors.
Yes.
They will almost always be picked up at the same time. So
Yes.
We're picking up on the west side. I understand that. And I understand the time, which is like 2:55 or something like that.
Yes.
Do I need to show both those placards when I do that? Or is it just the one for the elementary kid when we come through there?
It's helpful that you put both in the window because then we know
Okay.
how many kids are supposed to be in your car. And so the aides get very good throughout the school year of like recognizing the students, recognizing cars, right? And knowing who's going home with who. And they recognize like the names. They're like, oh, Johnny's going home with Sammy today. And if they don't see the placard, right, then a lot of times they sit there and go, hey, James went home with Sammy and I don't know if they were supposed to go home, because a lot of times what happens is we get a phone call or mom shows up and is like, where's James? And the aides are like, oh, I saw him get in the car with this one. So then we at least know how to track down. So if we see how many placards you have in the car, then it's like a verification for the aide to know 2 kids are getting in there, they're good to go.
Okay, that makes sense. And then are we supposed to like cut those out or put them, do they just go on the dashboard? Is that like, what do you want us to do with those?
Yeah, so I'm actually going to do like a video, but you're going to fold it in half and put it on your dashboard like a teepee.
Like a name tag. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Okay, one more question if that's okay.
Yeah.
If I am, actually, you may have already answered this. So, well, no, you didn't. So our middle schooler, our secondary school, let's say his elementary sibling is not there that day and I just need to pick up that one, the secondary school.
Yep.
Do I still go through the west line?
Yes.
In that case. Okay.
I'm going to give you 2 reasons why. One, is because we don't have you accounted for on the east side. So we know, like based off of signups and based off of capacity, how many cars we can fit in there. And so if there's any given day where you happen to show up over on that side, we don't have you accounted for, right? And if multiple people do that, then all of a sudden we have cars stacking on Ridgeline, and kids they get into a rhythm, and then they're like, where was I supposed to go? And then they're wandering. So we try and keep everything consistent. The second reason why I would say that is because at 255 and like between the 255, 305 on our elementary side, once we get into a good rhythm, our drive line is winding down. The drive line on the east side is just getting started. You are more than welcome to sit in that if you want to, but I would say I wouldn't want to sit in that because now I get stuck in traffic for the next 30 minutes. Whereas if you stay on the west side and stay consistent, you're at the tail end, you drive in, pick up your kid, and you're gone.
Perfect. That all makes perfect sense. And it's what I thought, but I just wanted to make sure.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, no problem. Lori, did you have a question? Yes, go ahead. Someone raised their hand. Do you have a question? You can unmute yourself.
Hi.
Hi.
So I have questions. So I saw like for the athletic, there is a form for like girls basketball for high school interest. So what about if we don't have enough girls? So because the girls need to be registered to another high school. So how does it work? Because I know we don't have a coach, we don't have a list of girls that are interested in high school basketball. So how does it work? Because we need to get those girls assigned somewhere.
Yes.
So
okay. So what I would do right now is I would email that athletics email and see where Miss Jones is in getting basketball up and running. Okay. She might be like, yes, I'm thinking about that, but give me like 2 weeks in order to get the interest form up and out and get people signed up for it. If we do not offer the program here, and it's a CHASA program, your student can compete at another school. However, the moment we start to offer that program, your student has to come here to compete, okay? They cannot continue to compete at that other school, and that's not our rule, that is a CHASA rule, okay? And Ms. Jones mentioned that in her athletics newsletter that she put out last week, but we'll continue to reiterate that. So if you have your kiddo signed up at for a girls basketball team at another school, and we don't have the program right now, they can continue to compete and they can practice over there. But as soon as we start offering the program here, and we know for sure that it's going to happen, then your kiddo has to come here to compete. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, no problem. We try and get the information out like as soon as we possibly know, but really a lot of times it's people forget, like they don't catch it in time. We really want to add more programs. So just always read that parent newsletter because those signups will be in there. We'll also circulate it to students also. So you can always check with your kiddo to be like, they have a student newsletter that also goes out on Fridays. So we send it directly to them if they want to sign up. So just know that we're trying to get the word out as much as we can.
Okay. And sorry, one more question.
Yeah.
So let's say there are enough girls interested in basketball. Do we have a coach or we don't have a coach? Because to my knowledge, we don't have a girls coach basketball.
Not right now, but what would happen is as soon as we put the interest form out and it's looking like we have enough to field a team, then we would start first with our staff to see who would want to coach girls basketball. And a lot of times we have staff who have already at the beginning of the school year said, I'm interested if you start this program. And so Ms. Jones then says, look, we've got interest, let's go. And then we also look for a parent to kind of co-coach or a community member to co-coach with us.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Lori K.
Yep, that's me.
Okay.
I was using my computer and I logged off and now I'm on my phone. So you should be able to hear.
Yep.
I just had a question to follow back up with picking up another student or having another parent pick up my student. Do
Okay,
we have to give the other parent our placard, or are we okay to just say, I'm bringing Johnny home today?
so what side of the school are we talking about?
Secondary school, 6th grade.
Okay, so if all of them are in 6th grade, then
Yes.
we're not regulating who goes home with who on that particular side because they're like
Old enough.
they're old enough. We assume that they have some sort of conversation. They're getting into a car that they know with their friend and that they're communicating with their parents.
So eventually, is the secondary school rolling to the Pick My Kid Up app, or are we, is
Yes,
that being held off?
yes, but it will not look like how it does on the elementary school side. So that's
Okay.
because they are older and
Mhm.
the way that Pick My Kid is demonstrating to us that it will work, which
Mhm.
them to validate this and they haven't yet, is that it is more of the parent comes in, goes into the app and says, I'm here, and the student gets a message on their phone to know
Oh.
that the parent is here to pick them up and like gives them an idea of where they're at in the drive line. So we wouldn't have, so it puts more of, it creates more of like that connection between the parent and the student for pickup as far as the notification piece, and we would not be out there putting cars in order and trying to find kids.
Got it.
So,
That
but
makes sense.
we just need Pick My Kid to validate that that's exactly how it's going to be. And
Sure.
so and they're inundated right now because everybody's getting going. So we were like, let's hold off. Let's get everybody just registered. We'll use it for emergency purposes for right now. And then we're hoping that maybe sometime in October, when things calm down for Pick My Kid, that we can circle back and then say, okay, how do we get this feature added so that parents can communicate with their kiddos?
Great.
To
Okay.
Pick My Kid. So
I have one other small question. If we received a letter yesterday about a few teachers leaving. If
yes,
one of those teachers was teaching a course that my son was enrolled in, is his schedule going to change, or will there just be a substitute in the interim?
yeah. So if it's computer science,
It was, yes.
yes, computer science is going to stay on their schedule for right now, as far as we know.
Okay.
Okay,
Okay.
we're actively looking, and I believe we have interviews already, like in the queue for computer science candidates that can come in and teach, to cover those particular classes. The students that had, and there weren't that many that had, of like the middle school kids, the high school business courses. So it's more high school students that are going to be impacted, by the business switch. That class is going to be pushed to the spring semester, or like the January, beginning of January, so that we have time to find that CTE teacher, because they have to have a special certification in order to teach those courses.
Okay.
So we're actively looking, but we didn't want to host the class and then have students fall behind and have a sub in there that is not qualified to teach the content. So the best decision was to let's push those classes to the spring semester. Let's get those kids into some other electives for now, and we get the teacher that's certified to teach that course.
Sure, that makes great sense. I have one other tiny question. Sorry, I'm really new.
Okay, that's why I'm here.
How did the 6th graders have lunch? Are they all together?
So I just got that information. It'll be in today's
Oh.
newsletter, but I can tell you now, 6th graders have a lunch.
Okay.
And so if you just look at that bell schedule, it'll
Yep.
say, I think it starts at 11:15.
Okay.
Could be wrong, because and then 7th and 8th grade will be mixed lunch B and C.
Okay.
So if you have a 7th or an 8th grader, on the day that they have, they'll check in with their teacher, and then they might have B lunch one day, they might have C lunch the other day. Last year we did have grade specific lunches. Now what that does, and I'm getting a little bit more into like the technical side, but if you guys really want to know, when we do grade specific lunches for all 3 middle school grades, it really severely limits the number of classes that we can offer, because you always have to have a class available with a teacher to teach it at a specific time for only that grade. So the ability for us to mix 7th and 8th grade allows for 7th and 8th graders to have more of a variety in their elective courses.
That makes sense. That's how the public middle schools are handle it.
Yes.
So I was familiar with that. I just wanted to make the assumption 6th graders were together for my little
Yes.
guy. Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yep. And the reason why we went to grade specific lunches last year was really due to behavioral situations that were arising from the year prior. So what we were trying to do is really, we've had some uptick in behavioral issues since COVID. They are going down, but there was a period of time where we were having issues at lunch. And so we decided last year to go to grade specific lunches to kind of settle everything down and to get students kind of with their grades to create those connections. And now this year, sixth grade will still be by itself because this is their first year coming from fifth grade. It's a big transition. Let's keep them all together, but let's mix and mingle seventh and eighth grade. What other questions?
Hello, I have a question related to the school lunch coupon or something. So my kiddo will be going kindergarten this year. And I don't know where, but I saw eligibility criteria for free lunches and stuff, and I was not qualifying for income region and stuff. But then I had like few friends who kind of put some money into that school buck app.
Yes.
And how that works. Like, I know they are also not qualifying based on those things. I talked to them and they said like it is for everybody. There is no qualification for that one. So I'm kind of confused on that.
Sure. Again, okay, so how there's two parts to answer your question. First, lunches are free for everybody, regardless of your income status this year. Okay. I anticipate that program will continue, but I know for this year, lunches are free for everybody. We do not serve breakfast, so just keep that in mind. Now, the free and reduced lunch program has always been in place, and there are additional benefits to free and reduced lunch. So prior, when everybody was paying for school lunches, if you qualified for free and reduced lunch, you could either get it for free or you could get it reduced. Now that everything is free, the district still would like for everyone to complete the application. One, because they want to collect data so that they know how many families would potentially qualify. But two, people who qualify either fully or partially can get discounts or can get free or can get fees waived. For instance, for field trips, their student fees can get waived. There could be other things like, additional resources that are provided by the district if they qualify either fully or partially for that program. So that's why they're encouraging everybody to complete the program, whether you think complete the application, whether you think you qualify or not. Okay.
Okay. So regardless, if I am not even applying for that, I would be, it would be given that my kiddo will be getting the free lunch, right?
Yes. Now you have, in order to get the free lunch, your kiddo has to pick, I believe it is, if I read it correctly, half fruit or half veggie, or they have to pick both of them together. I don't know, there's specific verbiage. So check the newsletter because there's information in there that specifies what constitutes a free lunch. Okay. If your kiddo doesn't pick any one of those items, it will be treated as a la carte and you will get charged. Okay. Now we do have, and on the elementary side, we have aides that help and we have signage up throughout both cafeterias so that students know, of what constitutes a free lunch. So if you start seeing charges in your My School Bucks account, that's probably because your kiddo didn't pick the specific items that would make it a free lunch. Okay.
So this is for the kindergarten. So
Yep.
I think the express entry, I already submitted my express entry, and that was the question during I was going through that express entry. So I don't know how I can go backward and do that.
Do what part?
Do
free and
that,
reduced lunch?
the free introduction lunch. And
So the application it's on our website on that back. No, I don't think I can't remember if I put it on the Back to School Hub, but it's definitely in the newsletter. The application is in there. Okay, so it'll give you instructions. It's a link to a fillable form. And so you'll just complete that and then you submit it to the district, but just make sure that once you receive, there's like a checkbox that you have to check that says, I want to share this information with the school. That way we know our business office assistant has access to that list. She's the only one in the school. That way she knows when fees come in, whether or not she's waiving or discounting a student fee or a field trip fee or something like that.
Gotcha. So for now, considering that I will be able to fill it out and she will get, my kiddo will get a free lunch. So I will be only supplying with the breakfast with her, or maybe breakfast she will take while going. So instead of two lunches, like one lunch and one snacks, I will just give them snacks.
That's a
not
good
the
idea.
lunch.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. The another thing is like on the schoolwork app, I cleared all the dues.
Uh-huh.
Do you think that I should front load with some money over there? Do you think of any situation where it will need something which will pull out from the school box, or no need to front load it with something?
So with her being in kindergarten, I probably wouldn't. I would say once she gets into maybe like second or third grade, then I would probably consider that, just because there are snacks that students can buy. But I don't know if they actually leave the snacks out for kindergarten, because they walk them through the line, right? And so I don't even think that they allow them to like grab the snack and buy it, because they anticipate that, you know, this at kindergarten, the student's not aware enough to know that, oh, I have to pay for this, right?
Yeah,
So,
makes sense.
So if I were in your position, I wouldn't feel the need to front load it because of her age and because of her being in kindergarten. Now, like I said, if I had a second, third, fourth, fifth grader going into middle school, I would probably front load it. That way they had access to it. If they're like, there's a snack that I want to have the ability to buy a snack every single day. Now, keep in mind, students will go up and they'll be like, hey, John, you want a bag of chips? I'll buy it, right? So for those who have students in like, you know, secondary or the upper grades in elementary school, just keep an eye on that, or have that conversation with your student to say, hey, we're not buying snacks for everybody. My nephew attends school here, and the moment he found out that there was some money in his My School Books account, he was buying food for everybody. So I would have that conversation with them to let them know, like, this is just for you. It's on those special occasions or however you want to set it up, but just let them know ahead of time.
Gotcha. And thanks for clarifying that. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. So there's a question in the chat box, with a current teacher turnover, what is the current amount? How many kids to teacher ratio, not just elementary, but also middle and high school? So it's difficult to answer that one, because on the secondary side in particular, because they have anywhere from 7 to 8 classes. So they might have a class that is somewhere around 18, and they might have a class that's somewhere around 27, 28. So it's difficult to answer that question. I can tell you, we try and plan every class for 25 students. We try and say, in order for us to be able to adequately pay that teacher, we build out a schedule. So it's 25 students per class that teacher teaches. Now, sometimes the teacher says, you know what, I can take on a little bit more because this is a cool class and I know everybody wants to get into it. So sometimes the teacher says, yes, you know, just load up the class. I'll take up to 30, right? So we do have that conversation with teachers. That is not very often, right? It's really up to we try and have that conversation with a teacher in advance. So what we're trying to do right now with, we do have somebody that will be, that is familiar with the drama program, Miss Nason. She volunteered and she subbed in that class, and she volunteered with that club after school a lot last year. So she's starting off the year in the drama department. She also met with Mr. Schwartz yesterday, and Mr. Schwartz is working with her, I believe, this week and next week to help kind of get the program started and the school year started. We do have, I believe, a couple of candidates already being lined up to interview for that position. So we hope to have somebody hired fairly quickly. And then with the business side, those students, like I said before, they're being, those who are in those business classes, they'll have the opportunity to sign up for business in the spring once we have that teacher hired. And then for computer science, as I mentioned before, we have some teachers lined up to interview for to cover the few classes that Ms. Doe was teaching for 6th grade computer science. So I hope that kind of answers your question there. I guess there was like a component in there that talked about elementary school. So that would really be the enrollment numbers at elementary obviously differ by grade. So we try and take, I believe the number is around 125 kids per grade in elementary school, and that doesn't always happen. So sometimes there's a shift. So let's say, for instance, in kindergarten, we might only have enough to fill 3 classes, but in 1st grade, we have enough to fill 4 classes, but then all of a sudden at the beginning of the school year, we have, 10 more kindergartners that enroll with us. And all of a sudden we need an additional teacher, and maybe we could pull some kids from 1st grade. And what we do is what's called a split class. So we do kindergarten and 1st grade, and we kind of match the students up, and the teacher co-teaches. We've done that before with a 3rd and 4th grade. And that actually worked out really well, because then we have aides that can assist between both grades, and they work very closely together. So that could be something that happens, but it really depends on how many students we have and then how many teachers we have. We try and keep those classes around 25 to 27 in elementary school. So our enrollment, I guess the best way to answer that next part of the question is our enrollment right now is right around 1,500 for this school year. Now, we still continue to take students all the way up until I believe it's October 1st or 2nd when the account window opens. And then that's when we're kind of solid for the rest of the school year. So it's difficult for me to tell you exactly like 25 to 30 kids per teacher for middle school, because it's all dependent on some teachers teach both 6th and 7th grade, right? And it depends on if it's an elective or a core class. So I'm not sure if I can fully 100% answer that question. All right, what other questions do you guys have? I can share with Ms. Doe's departure, her classes. She did have a class that managed the Mart. So we are looking at how that transition is going to happen. So if anybody did order something from Mart, we are looking at still trying to fulfill those orders, but then also put a small pause until we can assign a new person to manage the Mart. So just in case anybody had a question about that, we will be starting to reach out to those who placed orders over the summer so that we can give them an update of the progress there. All right, well, if there's no other questions, I will give you guys 10 minutes back of this time. I really appreciate you guys all for joining. And thank you so much for your interest in these info sessions this week. I truly appreciate it. Don't forget to check out that newsletter that should be coming out today. It's a busy day, so it might come out a little bit later. So just be on the lookout for that, and then continue to reach out with any questions that you might have heading into next week. Okay. Thank you so much, guys. Bye.
Thank you.